The male grooming sector is growing at a rapid pace, and we are totally here for it. It's about self-care, self-love, and it's not just for the ladies. Let's explore this with Victor Snyders, CEO from Skin Renewal, and Sam from the Clicks Beauty Squad. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you for having us.
Let's start with male grooming. Do you guys also feel as much pressure as ladies to look good and have perfect skin?
I'll tell you what the main factor is, and it's something it's very subtle but seldom recognized. In the old days, men simply got married young when they looked vibrant and then had their kids, had their job, and then retired, and that was the end of the story. Firstly, people are living a lot longer, and we now tend to have multiple lives. People are getting married twice in their lives, sometimes 3 times. So men are entering the dating pool at a much later age. So that's the first factor. The second factor is technology. The average man spends 20 to 30 seconds a day looking in the mirror. The average woman spends 20 to 30 minutes a day looking in the mirror. Men didn't really ever look at themselves carefully. Then came selfies, and they started seeing themselves. But the big changer was Zoom. Because the moment that they were in a Zoom meeting, they were invariably focusing on their image on the screen and not other people's images. And now they were faced with looking at themselves for an hour long in the meeting. The other thing is that unless they had flipped the switch to turn the Zoom image into a mirror, they were suddenly seeing their own image back to front, which was not the way that they were used to looking at themselves in the mirror. When we look in the mirror, and I'm sure you'll recognize this, Cindy, you pose. You know exactly how to stand in front of the mirror to see the best version of you. But now suddenly that is swapped around.
You see the real version of you.
And men
What other
suddenly
people
became
see.
incredibly self-aware of themselves, because now they saw their picture and the other guys in the meeting, and they could see that they looked old, tired, angry, all of these things.
And they need to do something.
And then there was a level of awareness.
Sam, you're a youngster. We're talking about how men are taking care of themselves because they are getting married older. Was male grooming something that you saw your father model for you? Or why is it that men are now at such a young age starting to look after themselves and doing self-care?
With what Victor just said, that's definitely a very different perspective. And I mean, it's clearly before my time. But like to just add a bit to what you asked earlier, I've never actually seen it as competition, but more of men actually being able to take care of themselves more and wanting to love themselves more. So it's more about the aspect of trying to become the best version of yourself. And why I say that is because what I actually grew up seeing was, as you just mentioned, my dad, for example. Whenever we would go to church or whenever he would have meetings, he was always cleanly shaven, always had a haircut, and always well groomed. Even if you go back to times where there were a lot of people who were in the army, a lot of people in the war, if you look at what we have derived from them is that they always had clean haircuts, they were always cleanly shaven, always well dressed, especially when representing the nation or being addressed with, to the president and all that. So I've always seen it as something that's always been passed down. Obviously, as things get passed down or as things progress, you always try to improve or you have add-ons to them. But the fundamental basis of self-care, I believe, has always been there.
Yeah. You know, there was this, when you were young, you were taught to take care of yourself by your parents. When I did my national service back in the 1970s, 1980s, yes, you're quite right.
Oh.
Your hair, your uniform, everything had to be spot on. But men tended to let themselves go over time. And when we started Skin Renewal back in the early 2000s, less than 5% of our patient base was male. That is now 30%.
Wow.
And remember that when we started, Instagram didn't exist, Zoom didn't exist, selfies were not yet a thing. So there is a correlation between these things in terms of that self-awareness.
So there's definitely more permission given to men to say that I want to look good, I want to take care of myself. And there's more lasers and products available these days. What are the main treatments that you see men coming for skin renewal?
Really everything. Skin quality is one of the first things. Is men want to have skin which is nice, clear, shining, and really in good shape. And skin health is a critical part of aesthetics, because if the underlying skin itself is not healthy and well, then you're going to start seeing signs of aging. So getting that sort of thing done first is the most important.
And are men adopting treatments like Botox and fillers?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'm
You know,
actually really curious, hey. So what would you recommend would be the ideal starting age for a man to actually start experimenting or doing research on the whole Botox treatment?
it really depends on person by person basis. But the thing to understand with this is that the earlier somebody starts doing it, the greater the effect of reducing the aging process. So you can't avoid aging, but the signs of aging can be managed. So the earlier one starts, and that's called prejuvenation, and it's preventative work. That doesn't mean one has to land up with a filled face and a totally frozen look, but these are just simply tools. In the same way as makeup is a tool, they are simply tools to assist you remaining young looking and vibrant.
I actually like how you mentioned earlier that men were actually letting themselves go. And what I've noticed recently is that men are actually more open to listening to their wives because they get tired of their husbands letting themselves go. So I think another good aspect to them actually wanting to get into the whole skincare thing is to actually maintain themselves for their wives. So, I'm happy you actually touched on that, hey?
There was a lovely movie called The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And in that, it was an old couple, a young couple in New York. And when they went to bed each night, when the husband fell asleep, the wife would go into the bathroom and do her entire face. And she would come out with the cream and the mask, and then she'd go to sleep. Then she'd wake up before him, go and take off the face, get her makeup perfect. And when he woke up, she was looking perfect. These things were almost in secret. And as the use of all of these products has become more open and whatever, and these products are now all on the bathroom shelf, wives are encouraging their partners to start using them.
100%.
Why don't you do this?
I remember when I started doing Botox, I wouldn't even tell my husband about it. Now I'm telling him to go for Botox.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So that has definitely changed. But let's talk about the one thing that women don't have to worry about, and that is facial hair. Well, I'm certainly not as much as you. So, Sam, what are your tips and tricks to get your shave is perfect with your flawless skin.
I tried.
What are your tips and tricks on shaving and things that you think men don't know as the Beauty Squad member?
I think the primary thing and one thing that, for example, Skin Renewal always focuses on is doing research first. So when it comes to shaving, it's more than just grabbing a razor blade and shaving your skin. It's about understanding the kind of the kind of hair, that you actually do have. Darker skinned people have very curly hair, so they are more prone to ingrowns because it actually curls up underneath your skin because it's so hard and curly, whereas lighter skinned people really struggle with ingrowns. So the primary thing would be researching the kind of hair you have, and that's how you know what kind of treatment to use, what kind of tool to use. I mean, some people work great with razor blades, but others would actually need a shaving machine. Like I use a shaving machine. Razor blades don't really work well for me because the because my hair is so strong and curly, the razor blades don't always cut the hair. It actually pulls it out, which causes the skin damage.
Yeah.
So the primary
So
thing
you
is
have to use a
research.
shaver.
Yes, I use a machine, a trimmer.
I use a razor. I've got softer hair, much thinner hair, very easy to cut with a razor. But one of the things that you must do before you shave is properly moisturize, soften, get the skin ready for the shaving process. If you just throw water on your face and then take a razor blade to it, believe me, you're going to cause damage.
Oh, hundreds. Hundreds. I mean, you've been hinting throughout the whole show that prevention is better than cure. So just get it right the first time.
So the pre-shaving balm, pre-shaving moisturizer,
Absolutely.
and then post-shaving facial balms for bump control. And then how to determine what kind of hair you have. I mean, you would think that there's some AI tools out there that you can take a picture and it would tell you what products you need for your beard. Do you think that we will be seeing that in the future in AI, Victor?
AI is going to be everywhere. I think that's something we've just got to recognize, and that it's going to be around there. We have a particular philosophy in that we use AI, but we don't believe everything AI says. And we always test it, and we look at the human being to interpret and make the final decision.
I mean, we are in an ever-changing world, so it is good to adapt and go with the times. But I think it's a very good thing to, as Victor just said, to not overly become dependent on AI. I mean, at the end of the day, AI is a tool to help humans, but at the end of the day, we are also still human, and there's nothing that can actually beat that human touch. So I think the collaboration between the two is what will actually produce better results.
And even though we see such a rise in AI, and I mean, Victor, I know at Skin Renewal, you have such well-trained doctors and you really rely on the human element and input in that. And even though we're seeing such a rise in AI, we are also seeing humans, influencers, modeling, same as you would know, moving away from AI to be more of the best version of yourself and less perfect and less flawless. And I think we'll see more and more of that in the future. Is that what you're experiencing in the influencer space?
I mean, yes, the world is changing and at a very rapid pace. I mean, if you look at the past 2 years, how much AI has improved, it can actually be scary. But when you were talking about the modeling industry, for example, it's an industry where people want to be as authentic as possible. So that's where you actually see the most self-care, for example, because they're always trying to be the absolute best version of themselves, especially since all cameras are on us, all lights are on us. So we want to be the best pick when trying to work with clients. But as we're continuously getting into the modern ages, it's all about just trying to see how we can incorporate AI without actually, being replaced by AI.
One has got to remember that we are human beings, but we are a social animal. What the human species has achieved is through being able to work with other human beings, and that requires relationships. And to simply let the machines take over would denigrate the human being to simply being another occupier on the planet. And we are the species that runs the planet. And I think we have a responsibility. People crave human touch, human relationships, that feeling of falling in love, that flutter that happens. Now, I know that in Big Bang Theory, Raj fell in love with Siri, but was very disappointed at the end of the episode when it wasn't really reciprocated. And we need that. So as much as AI is there, I couldn't agree more with Sam. It's a tool, and we need to understand it as a tool, but we need to start taking responsibility for those relationships ourselves.
Well, I think AI is getting better, but I have to say, I think humans are also getting better.
100%.
I mean, I know, I mean, Sam, you're still young, but I certainly think that we are now aging better. Victor, thank you to all of your amazing lasers and technology at Skin Renewal and all the amazing new products we have at Clicks, even for the men. Now there's a whole new array of products to
Many
use.
ranges. And
So watch out AI, because humans are getting better and we are getting more beautiful and we still like each other, as you say, Victor. We are social human beings. And I have to say, guys, the men are also getting better. So well done for you two pioneering the industry as an influencer, and Victor definitely as a leading expert in the industry of skin renewal.
Thank you.
I'm excited to send my husband over to you. Thank you, guys.
wow.
Thank you.